that the IRS is wanting to make sure that you get a fair share of deductions on the business end, but then they know, okay, you can't really double dip. Now, there's a lot of advantages of having your own business and as far as your deductions, but the thing is that the reason why is because there's a lot of people say, hey, everything can be write-offable, right? Like everything's a write-off. You can write off your whole life. I've heard of the most extravagant things. I've heard of the most extreme things that people have written off. You know, prom dresses and personal parties and different things like that. Like that's really in a fine line. And the thing is that if you're just saying, yeah, I was just doing this for my business, they're going to want to see documentations. Maybe was there a flyer? You know, was this a flyer sponsored by your company? Was this something to market? I mean, did it have a specific purpose? And the reason why is because, again, the IRS uses these two words for your business. Is it ordinary in your business to have this expense? And is it necessary to have this expense in your business? They answer those two questions. And here's the thing. I know one thing. A lot of people are like, hey, I write off all my clothes. It depends on what field you're in. But if it is something that you can use walking down the street or regular clothes, then that is going to come into question. However, something that you're wearing, you have a uniform, that is going to be a write-off because you are wearing your brand company logo, your brand company name. And so going deep into that, if you answer those two questions and you talk with a tax professional, I would say to talk with them about it on all the lines that you want to cross, right? But a good tax professional that doesn't want to cause any issues with audits and different things like that will probably stir you in the direction of making sure that you have it documented and you go through the right proper channels of writing something off. The thing is that sometimes it's not a question of, is this a write-off? Sometimes it's a question of, how can we write this off, right? How can we do it? However, again, it's going to take some tact and some skill, not to avoid just tax avoidance, right? And try to get over, but the fact that you answer those two questions, ordinary, necessary, answer those two questions. And if it answers correctly and you have the right tax professional that is right there to help that, then, you know, help with that question, then you should be on the right page. And so one of the things that they do look at as far as the IRS is if there is an expense that is well over the amount than for somebody who is actually in that field. So just have to, again, just be mindful of that. Just be very mindful of that and make sure that, yeah, that you just go through the proper channels of doing that. So just want to have someone who's a tax expert. So that's the main thing that I'll say, because it's so many facets and so many industries that it just depends on the circumstances situation.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right on that. And one thing I see that you keep on, emphasizing on is having a tax expert or a tax strategist on your team,
Mhm.
in regards to your business. And I understand that even me, growing as a growing business, sometimes we look at the cost of, having someone that's a tax expert or tax strategy, and that could be the reasons why we may not necessarily want to go to a tax strategy, especially when we're growing. So that leads me to ask, when should people start looking for a tax strategist? That's one question. And the part two to that question, what questions should we ask to know that, the person we're working with will be the best fit? So we don't have situations where you think you're paying for your taxes, but your taxes are not being paid. Um, so if I hope that those two questions make sense.
Right, right. So just FYI on that, typically for the most part, you need to know the difference of who you're working with. There's a difference between a tax preparer and a tax strategist. So a tax preparer is someone who, they normally set up shop January through May. You go in, you drop off your paperwork, they say, thank you, your taxes are prepared. This is how much you owe. This is how much you're getting back. Hey, you may want to try doing this next year. And thank you. Have a good day. I'll see you next year. A tax strategist or a tax planner is someone that is going to walk with you and throughout the year and actually set you up to where you owe the least taxes possible. And so not only they will be more about foresight versus hindsight. And so they can see the future before you actually get there. Okay, you're on track. This is how much you're going to owe in taxes. Okay, what cash do we have available to allocate to areas to where you can benefit from the profit, but then also save on taxes? And so it's someone that can actually sort of see in the future for you. The question that you asked was when, right? When do we need a tax professional? The thing is that if you are in business and you are a entrepreneur, and it is a good idea for you to talk and invest into a session with with a tax professional or someone who offers tax tax strategy sessions. And in those tax strategy sessions, they're able to go through your business, see how if you are on track or not, right? They want to see whether or not if you're on track or if you're not. And really, someone, if you can sit down just once a year, maybe having a mid-year check-in, hey, and typically it's not going to be your tax preparer because sometimes they are busy. If they're busy preparing taxes, it's going to be difficult to get them on a strategy call. And so if you want a strategy session, then maybe it's going to be important, then it will be important for you to set up a session with someone who's a tax planner or a tax strategist to help you know what deductions are going to be included. And so I would say whenever you have a business. Now,